Hey, this is Tony here, and today I'm going to show you a short video of using the Kepler planetary image processing software with WinJUPOS. We're going to take a series of Jupiter images and then do some derotation with WinJUPOS. So let's get started. I covered the various processing steps for Jupiter images in a previous video, and I'll put the link to that video in this description. But what I want to show you basically is I opened up a Jupiter image. I ran the wavelets tab with various settings that you can see here. And then I went into a denoise and ran that. Then I went into RGB and did some color correction, did a slight sharpening, deconvolution, and then did a local contrast enhancement. And again, do take a look at that other video link that I'll put in the description here. The other thing that I showed or will show is the ability, if I click on the batch tab here, is I can apply all of those processing settings to all of the image files for Jupiter. So there's some consistency. And then when I run batch on those files, I will save all those files fully processed and fully derotated. And that's what we're going to use in the WinJUPOS section. So let's go ahead. And here is the WinJUPOS UI. I've already opened up that first image in the series, but if I backtrack and click here in image and open image, then this is the files that would show up. And I would go ahead and click on this first file here, which I've already done. So let's go ahead and cancel that. Now, the first thing you can see here is the WinJUPOS has a circle here that's meant to sort of outline the limb of the planet, and that's not doing it right now. So we'll double check a couple of things in WinJUPOS. First, we go up to the Program tab here and Celestial Body, and we'll make sure that Jupiter is selected in the Celestial Body. Done. The next thing we want to do is we want to go over and click this little Adjustment tab here. It says ADJ. We click on that, and what we can do is in Windows, if we press the F11 button, press F11. So WinJUPOS does a nice job of selecting where it thinks the limb edge, or the limb of the planet is, and the poles are set. So that's kind of a nice capability. You notice that there's a little circle over here. That's because there's a moon that's not evident in this image, probably because the moon is just not quite bright enough to show up. But we're not going to pay attention to that. We're going to focus on derotating this Jupiter image. So the other thing we're going to do here in this tab is there's a thing called LD compensation. And it's basically, it's a limb darkening compensation that you can select. And really what it does is it kind of smooths the border between the planet's limb and the dark background to make it look a bit more natural looking. And so typically what I do is I select that, and then I'll select something like, in this case, let's do 0.9 for the time being. And so you see that we're now sort of saying to WinJUPOS, here's where we think the limb is, and here's where to apply the darkening. So we'll leave it like that for now. I definitely encourage you to play around with this for yourself. So the next question is, okay, so I've done WinJUPOS for this one image. What about the other images that I want to use? I don't want to go through all this process all over again. So what you can do is you can go to the Miscellaneous tab here, click it, and you can select the other image files that you want to process. So I've already got the first one selected. I'm going to select the other 5 here. One thing I've noticed with WinJUPOS, and your experience may differ, but if I try to do a derotation on a series of images that were collected over too long of a time difference. So let's say, for example, the first image was collected at, say, 1 a.m. and the last one was like 4 a.m. In my experience, WinJUPOS has a hard time doing derotation for such a large time gap. I seem to have gotten the best results when the time gap between images is about 20 to 30 minutes. And that's what you'll see in this case, about a 25-minute difference. So we've selected the images. We're going to now open them. And you can see here that what WinJUPOS has done is actually created the settings files for those images. And if I go in and show you that folder, you'll see right here, if I bring that folder into view here, here's the image files. But then here is the settings files that WinJUPOS has automatically created for us. So that's a nice time saver to leverage that batch capability. Let's go ahead and minimize this folder. So again, what I did was I opened up the first image. I did my adjustments. And then I went into miscellaneous and I selected this button saying create settings files for all the other images in the series. And now what I can do is I can go to the Tools tab and do derotation of images. And the first thing I want to do is if I go up to edit here, so my images are basically this series here of settings files, and I'm going to select all of them, open, and you see when I do that, they open up here in this image measurement dialog. Now what I want to do is you can do the image orientation here. Let's say we'll select north at the top. I'm in the northern hemisphere. And then the next thing we can do basically is just go ahead and compile the image. So click this button here. And when I do that, you can see that WinJUPOS has automatically created this derotated image for us. Now, if I go in back to that folder, you'll see that image file is right here. It's actually a PNG file, but you can select different file types. If I open this file and bring over the preview, so this is the derotated image. Now let me open up one of the images that we use to process. So you can see the difference. Let's drag this over. So this is one of the individual image files. And this is the derotated image. And I think you agree, first of all, there's a difference in the amount of noise. It's improved in the derotated image. And have we brought out any more details in the image? Not necessarily so, but definitely there's an improvement in the noise. So that's it for using Kepler to process your images, and then using WinJUPOS and batch mode to create a derotated image. Thank you very much, and I encourage you to play around with Kepler and WinJUPOS. The download to Kepler and WinJUPOS will be in the description of the video. Thank you.